And it can range anywhere between, as I said earlier, mid-December up until March, but realistically, it's the very last week of December into the first 2 weeks of January is really kind of, if you were to look at the last 25 years, that's when we're harvesting. And when it comes down to that time, what happens is we will actually do it at nighttime when it's coldest, because if the sun comes out, we can't have these grapes exposed because they'll start melting. So we want them frozen, and we can never bring these grapes inside. So we have to bring the presses outside. So these big basket presses, and we learned this the hard way. So we used to use basket presses with the cranks and stuff, and I can't tell you how many presses we would break. So now it's these big basket presses with hydraulics that push and push and push, thousands of pounds of pressure of pushing. Because these grapes, they're not grapes, they're marbles. They're frozen. So if I take these grapes and I throw it against the ground, it's bouncing back up. So we bring these presses out. We'll put them on sleds and we bring them outside. We'll put them right into the vineyards. And we're picking the grapes. Most of it is done. It used to all be done by hand. But the reality is people complain too much. Nobody wants to pick ice wine grapes because it's so brutal. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. It is nasty. So you go out in the middle of the night and we pick the grapes, but really now done because they're marbles. You can't hurt. So most people don't like to use machine harvesters for table wine because it can be a little bit rough on the grapes, but these are marbles. You can't do anything to these grapes. And so we press and we press and we press and we press. And after about 3.5 hours, you just start to see this tiny, tiny trickle come out. I mean, I've had press there and they're filming and you can hear them going, is it working? Is it working? What's going on? What's going on? And then all of a sudden, little droplets come out after a couple hours. And you think they just saw somebody walking on the moon. They're so excited to see these little droplets. So the yields, again, because if I was to take Andrea and give her a big hug, I wouldn't necessarily crush her, but I might squeeze the air out of her lungs. And that's what we're doing with these grapes. We're just squeezing that tiny droplet of nectar out of these grapes. The yields are between 8 and 10% versus what we would get out of still wine, table wine. So incredibly low yields.